Let me ask you something. Are you waking up every day on autopilot, stuck in the same loop, hoping something magical will happen to change your life? Because if you are, I'm here to break that lie. Your life doesn't change by accident. It changes when you change your habits. And not the big, complicated ones. I'm talking about 6 small, simple habits that if you commit for just 21 days will radically shift your momentum. Small daily habits shape your identity and build long-term transformation. Most people think success comes from some massive breakthrough or one big opportunity, but that's not how it works. Real transformation happens through the repetition of small, consistent actions that reinforce who you are becoming. Every single time you follow through on a habit, you're casting a vote for the identity you want to live into. You're not just doing the action, you're telling yourself, this is who I am now. That's powerful because identity drives behavior, not the other way around. When you believe you're a focused, discipline-driven person, your actions start to align with that belief naturally. But how do you build that belief? Through proof. Through showing up for yourself every single day with small habits that stack. It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler it is, the more likely it will stick. A 5-minute journal in the morning, a 10-minute walk in the evening, reading a single page of a book, setting a daily intention before checking your phone. These are micro actions, but they reinforce major shifts. The key is consistency over intensity. Most people want a sprint. They want a 30-day challenge, a 6-hour grind session, something that sounds impressive. But the truth is, it's not about intensity, it's about repetition. It's about building trust with yourself. Because when you trust yourself to follow through, you stop negotiating with your excuses. And that's when the real change happens. Every time you hit a small habit, you're reinforcing to your subconscious that you're in control. You're telling your brain, I don't skip promises I make to myself. And that's a massive psychological shift. You stop being the person who starts and quits, and you become the person who follows through no matter what. That belief becomes your new baseline. Habits are how you shift from motivation to identity. You don't need to feel like it, you just need to act like it until acting like it becomes who you are. You begin to show up differently, you talk differently, you think differently, and others start to notice it too. You lead with integrity because you lead yourself first. And the best part is the process becomes addicting. Momentum builds more momentum, progress becomes your fuel, and you start to crave that sense of forward motion more than you crave comfort or distraction. The process becomes the reward. You no longer look at habits as chores, you see them as investments into your future self. And that future self is created right now, in the present, by what you do today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because the actions you repeat are far more powerful than the goals you set. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your systems. And habits are your systems. They are the foundation of your transformation. You either build the right ones intentionally, or you default into habits that keep you stuck in the past. Discipline starts with controlling your environment and owning your mornings. Most people fail to build discipline because they try to rely on willpower alone. But willpower is a limited resource. It fades as the day goes on. That's why the most successful people don't depend on it. They design their environment to support their goals. If your environment is filled with distractions, temptations, and triggers that pull you off course, then no amount of motivation is going to save you. You're going to fall back into old patterns. So the first step in building real discipline is to set up your surroundings to eliminate friction. That means removing what slows you down and adding what pulls you forward. If your phone is the first thing you reach for in the morning, put it in another room the night before. If you want to eat clean, don't stock junk food in your house. If you want to read more, put the book on your pillow. Discipline becomes easier when your environment is working with you instead of against you. But the real power move is taking ownership of your mornings. The first hour of your day is the most important because it sets the tone for everything else. If you wake up reactive, checking notifications, diving into email, scrolling social media, you've already given your attention away. You've surrendered control before the day even started. But when you take that first hour and make it yours, you send a powerful signal to yourself. I run my day. I don't let the world run it for me. Owning your morning isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most before the noise kicks in. You don't need a 2-hour morning routine. You need intentionality, a few focused practices that ground you, energize you, and align you with your goals. Maybe that's 10 minutes of movement. Maybe it's a short journal session. Maybe it's reviewing your top 3 priorities. What matters is that you choose and you do it consistently. Most people underestimate how much momentum comes from starting the day with clarity and intention. It bleeds into everything else. You walk differently, you speak more confidently, you handle challenges with more resilience. Why? Because you already won the first battle of the day. You already proved to yourself that you're in charge. And that proof matters. It builds trust with yourself. Every time you follow through on your morning routine, you reinforce that identity of being a disciplined, focused person. That's how transformation begins, not with a single big decision, but with small decisions repeated daily. When you commit to your morning, you create structure in a world that is constantly trying to pull you into chaos. The truth is, you don't rise to your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. And your habits are shaped by your systems. Discipline isn't about pushing harder, it's about setting yourself up so that the right choice is the easy choice. If you remove the decision-making process and replace it with structure, you'll stop relying on motivation and start running on momentum. This is how elite performers operate. They don't leave their performance to chance. They lock in their routines. They protect their mornings like sacred time. They use their environment as a tool for success. And they design their days so that discipline is the default, not the exception. You can do the same. It starts with taking control of your space and your schedule. Because if your environment is chaotic, your mind will be too. If your mornings are reactive, your days will be scattered. But when you own your environment and dominate your mornings, you create a foundation of discipline that drives everything else forward. You stop drifting and start directing. You stop waiting for the right mood and start acting on mission. You don't hope to be disciplined, you become disciplined by design. And that design starts with what's around you and what you do the moment you wake up. Clarity, consistency, and courage come from intentional daily action. Most people want massive results, but they stay stuck because they're waiting for perfect timing, perfect motivation, or perfect conditions. The truth is, clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. You don't find purpose by sitting around and reflecting endlessly. You find it by taking steps, testing, failing, adjusting, and building. Every time you act, you learn. Every time you move forward, you get feedback. That feedback sharpens your direction. And that direction is where clarity lives. People think they need to know the full path before they start, but it's the small, intentional daily steps that illuminate the path, one piece at a time. When you show up every day with action, you're building more than habits. You're building awareness. You start to understand what works, what doesn't, what feels right, and what's holding you back. You start identifying patterns, energy shifts, emotional responses. That's what makes you dangerous. Not just working hard, but working intentionally and learning as you go. Consistency is the engine behind all progress. Talent is great, but it's inconsistent action that kills momentum. When you commit to small, repeatable actions daily, you build rhythm. And rhythm builds identity. When you no longer question whether or not you'll show up, you've crossed over from dabbling into mastery. The problem is most people are chasing motivation instead of locking into systems. Motivation is emotional, it's fleeting, it comes and goes. But systems are dependable. When you wake up and know exactly what to do, when to do it, and why, it removes the negotiation. That's the real difference. High performers don't ask themselves every morning if they feel like it. They've already decided. They execute. And because of that, they build consistency. It's not about how intense your action is on one day. It's about how reliable you are every day. That's what separates pros from amateurs. That's what builds long-term success. The ability to show up with consistency even when the mood isn't there. Courage is built the same way. It's not some magical trait you're born with, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows through repetition. Doing hard things every day, even small ones, trains your brain to push through discomfort. You don't need to face your biggest fear every day, but you do need to step outside of your comfort zone on purpose. Make the call, say no, set the boundary, publish the post, speak up when it's easier to stay quiet. These moments build internal strength, and each time you do it, you prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. That's how you grow. That's how you move from hesitating to executing. Courage isn't about feeling fearless. It's about acting in the presence of fear. And the more you act, the smaller the fear becomes, because action starves fear and courage expands with every step. This trifecta, clarity, consistency, and courage, is not something you wait for, it's something you build. And the raw material is daily, intentional action. You don't need more time. You don't need more information. You need execution. You need a simple set of daily actions that move you closer to your goal, no matter how small. You need to review, reflect, and refine those actions as you go. You need to commit to the process even when the results aren't immediate, because the compound effect of small actions over time is what produces big breakthroughs. It's not about what you do occasionally, it's about what you do daily. Small actions done with purpose create internal alignment. They align your vision with your behavior. They create flow, they build trust, they eliminate confusion, and they elevate your confidence. Over time, they make you unstoppable, not because you're the smartest or the strongest, but because you're relentless, clear, and grounded in who you're becoming.